This is Cults Unpacked. My name is Danny Clayton, and we're about to talk about a cult which has become synonymous with the term cult: Jim Jones, Jonestown, and the People's Temple. In 1950, Jim Jones started the movement to tackle poverty and racism, but in 1978, it ended up in the mass murder-suicide of over 900 people. Behavioral scientists have been studying this incident for years, trying to make sense of how one man could cause so much damage. Now, cult enthusiast, author, writer, intellectual Joe Thornley, this was a catastrophic moment in American history, and all because of one man, Jim Jones. How was he such an effective cult leader?
I think if you stopped reading a biography of Jim Jones after the first 100 pages, you would think he was one of the best guys ever. And that's what cults do. They do good to get you in there, and then the leader goes a bit power crazy. So he helped people with addiction, he started nursing homes, he won humanitarian awards, and he was instrumental in ending racial segregation in Indiana. But then the power got to him, and he kind of got socialism and dressed it up as religion.
One of the wild things is how he has affected the world, even in such a simple way as the expression to drink the Kool-Aid. And that is to believe something that's dangerous with the idea of some ultimate reward. Now, we know that they drank poisoned Flavor-Aid, but what was the reward? Why do you think over 900 people, why did they drink the poison?
Partly, the reward was a socialist utopia, and so far Jim Jones had never let them down. But he did do many tests of their loyalty, and one was a thing that he called white nights, which was practice drinking of poison to prove loyalty. He'd also convinced all his followers that in the bushes surrounding the Jonestown cult, the CIA and local government were waiting there to kill them for their dangerous socialist ideas. So they'd just been indoctrinated to learn that drinking poison was the way to really show their loyalty.
People did try to object, but were overwhelmed by people telling them just to shut up and drink the poison. How did Jim Jones get people to such a state where he had the ultimate control over them, even being able to silence people who tried to detract from him?
There were punishments. People would get locked in small rooms and beaten if they questioned his authority. And he was their only source of truth, and he had led them to believe that they were going to save the world, and world powers hated that. And so if they didn't kill themselves, people were coming to kill them. It's not a happy time to read about Jonestown.
Okay. And how did this all kick off? When did the mass suicide occur? What was the catalyst?
There had been complaints to a congressman called Leo Ryan, who was a fantastic do-gooder, and he went over to Guyana in South America to investigate Jonestown. And you just don't question cult leaders. That really ticks them off. So when Leo Ryan visited Jonestown and some of the cult members asked him to take them back to the US with him, Jim Jones flew into a rage and had the congressman murdered. And then he decided, well, that's it. We have to all kill ourselves now.
Wow. When I get angry, I buy myself ice cream. Probably more a appropriate way to deal with it. So the final question I've got for you, Joe, is how did this cult start? How did it end? What were the people promised? What did they get?
They were promised a socialist utopia with no poverty, and they got Flavor-Aid with cyanide in it.
Okay. A very tragic end, and definitely one of the more dangerous cults ever to exist. This has been Cults Unpacked.